So, what are my thoughts on Metallica's new album, 72 Seasons? What's going on, ladies and gents? It's Cyberland coming back with another album review. This time on to Metallica's latest album. 72 Seasons. So, about maybe I'd say 2 years ago, the band had already mentioned they were kicking around ideas and they were working on some stuff behind the scenes for a new album. And I was kind of like, yeah, but when you guys say that, no offense, but you guys have been in the game so long, so what we think as the fans is like, okay, now I'm just going to drop in a year and a half. It ends up being like 4 years later kind of shit. So with this, it was kind of like, I love Metallica. I love Metallica. I think Metallica is one of the greatest bands of all time, hands down. But at the same time, their track record lately for, I'd say since the Black Album, it's been, I take that back. Since Injustice for All to the Black Album, from that point onward, it's been a situation where an album comes out every 4 to 5, sometimes longer for them. And I don't think it's because they can't make creative material. I think they have. I wouldn't be surprised if one of these songs, like some parts of it, was written a decade ago. I just think Metallica is a live band. They are more interested, if they're not spending time with their family or working together on different entrepreneur type of ideas, they are touring. So I don't think they put as much emphasis on recording as much anymore. And I only think that's because, look at their catalog. I mean, Saint Anger that had to be made, and I already stated how I felt. I have a video on that, depending on if I release it after this or before this. But outside of that and how people feel about Load and Reload, they've been pretty damn consistent. They've had a few hiccups, the bass being turned down on Injustice for All, and then what happened with Death Magnetic with the guitar. In my opinion, the Guitar Hero version was better than the actual album that you buy, which again, I hope they fix that if they do a box set, because it seems like the way it's going, they're going to do a box set for every single album for the hardcore fans. If I had money like that, I definitely would buy all those box sets, but I just don't. So that's just kind of been them really for a while now. So with this, I was kind of like, okay, I'm not going to get excited until I see something. And then lo and behold, Lux Eterna came out, and then of course the album cover. I said, okay, we're good now. Now it's official. Something's coming. Definitely. Now the time frame is the thing. And when I heard Lux Eterna, I was kind of like, is this the intro to the album? Because it didn't feel like, I don't know if this should be the beginning song for the album. It didn't feel that way, like how Hardwired or That Was Just Your Life. It felt like it belongs to the album, just not as the first track. And then of course the track list came, was like, okay, cool, and then when I finally listened to the album and seeing how the songs went and where Lux Eterna, that was a good spot overall. It could have went further down the track list or in that where it was, track number 6, I believe. So I was cool with that. But Lux Eterna didn't draw me into the album. It was actually when I heard Screaming Suicide. The beginning of Screaming Suicide, I was like, okay. But what got me really into getting excited for the album was when the pre-chorus to Screaming Suicide. I love that part to where then it goes to the chorus and how they're playing. I just really love that. And that's what got me. And then at some point I heard of Darkness Had a Sun, and I was like, okay, so the Darkness Had a Sun kind of gives me vibes of Black Album. It just did. And I would say a little bit of maybe elements of Reload, like from Devil's Dance. It kind of gave me those vibes. And that was cool, you know, and I didn't have a problem. And then, of course, about a week ago, 72 Seasons came out. And when I heard 72 Seasons, I was like, okay, I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to this album. This thing, I can't wait for this thing to leak. Even though, as I record this right now, my album's on the way. Even though I've already listened to the album, you know, read between the lines. Even though I acquire music, I still buy my music. I still want my physical CDs, my physical albums. Thank you very much. So while I'm waiting for that to show up, I've been listening to the album. And the first day or so, I kind of just... Okay, well, let me draw it back. So, I heard the album 2 days ago. So today, you know, about a couple days, 2 days ago. And I already had a bunch of shit personally that I was having to deal with that I really didn't want to, but we had to get it done. My eye is itching for some reason. So 72 Seasons already. And then when I got to Shadows Fall, I was like, whoa, woo, okay. And then Screaming Suicide. And as I continued to get through the album, I was just like, okay, this album's not letting up. There might be a couple slower tracks in the mix, but for the most part, there was no songs that were letting up at all. Personally, I think the slowest song on it was probably You Must, actually in a Murata, or I would say You Must Burn. Those kind of felt the slowest to me to an extent, but no tracks I didn't like. I just liked certain tracks better than others. And actually, the funny thing, or not the funny, but the thing that took me the hardest to pinpoint what was my favorite songs, I knew at first Screaming Suicide was my favorite song, definitely. And then when I heard Shadows Follow, Shadows Follow, that's when I was like, okay, no, this is my favorite song. And then Screaming Suicide. And then yesterday I did a bunch of business stuff, and I just was like, when I wasn't talking to somebody for business, I was listening to the album, and I went through it a couple times. I was like, okay, now I know how I kind of want to talk about things and kind of give you guys overall my idea, because, you know, Metallica is like fine wine. For them, with me, I have to listen to that album like for a while before I can really start making up my mind. And even though this review's coming out, my thoughts might change later, but at least I think I'm sticking to where I would be with my top 5 tracks in my rating. I almost would give this a perfect 10, because it's almost like the band kept going like this since Rob Chirillo's been in the band, with Death Magnetic and then Hardwired, especially with production, and then 72 Seasons. There wasn't any tracks that were kind of like dull or boring to me, and there wasn't anything that was ballady. No instrumental, unfortunately. Maybe on the next one we get an instrumental, or maybe if they have some tracks that they feel can add to the album but didn't make the cut, maybe we might have an instrumental, because that would be nice to hear, because I love it when Metallica does instrumentals too, periodically. We haven't had one since Suicide Redemption. And overall, when I mentioned for the locker room scenario, like, okay, the first 4 albums hang out in this locker room, Black Album's by itself, Reload Low here, or I think Reload Low can go into the Black Album locker room, but they're kind of on their own thing, and St. Anger by itself. With this album, I definitely would say it can hang with the Black Album, and with Death Magnetic and Hardwired, because I kind of feel like Death Magnetic and Hardwired are kind of in the first 4 locker rooms, so it can kind of bounce between it. It wouldn't go really with Load or Reloads at locker room. So musically, I kind of feel like it's with the first 4 albums or the Black Album, or definitely with Death Magnetic and Hardwired. My rating for the album was a 9.5 out of 10. I almost gave it a perfect. The only reason why I didn't was I think what's missing from the album is probably like a ballady type thing that they always do. And not, because none of the songs are a problem. I just think it's missing that. I think it's missing that one song that they don't have to make a single, but it could just be, the ballady type metal that they're known for, because they haven't done one in a while. So it'd be nice to, I think actually since The Unforgiven and The Day That Never Comes kind of thing. So it would be nice, but I almost give it a 10. I just, maybe my rating might change for it later, but right now I think it's like a 9.5 because it's near perfect. I don't dislike anything. It never lets up, and everything is really just energetic. And it sounded to me like they had a lot of pent-up aggression, and for these guys being as old as they are now, but a lot of pent-up anger and aggression from not being able to get out that energy that they get when they perform. So I do think when they were writing, James was writing the lyrics, and when they were doing the music, I think that was really put into the album. And the other thing too is I don't know how long they spent on Death Magnetic or Hardwired technically, but I felt like this one, out of those two, they spent a lot more time because of the lockdowns, which I think probably was a better thing for the band. And I do believe maybe the amount of time they spent on how they did this one, they should probably do that on the next one if they do get to the next time. Hopefully they do. I don't know. I know at one point, as I said, time is kind of against them in regards, so hopefully they can put out a little bit more content before they finally say, okay guys, it's been a long run, but we're retiring kind of thing. I just hope they well, anyway, top five tracks: Shadows Fall, Screaming Suicide, 72 Seasons, Chasing Light, and Too Far Gone. Honorable mention, I would say Crown of Barbed Wire. Crown of Barbed Wire was definitely gonna do that, and House of I'm still trying to get the titles down. I barely, Room of Mirrors too. Those tracks also were contenders for my top 5. But I think the lyrics to Chasing, actually the guitar work, Chasing Light was already going to be in my top 5. Too Far Gone was teetering between those other 2 songs because lyrically and the musicianship, but Too Far Gone just really struck me more as I kept listening to the album. So I was like, okay, you can top 5. The Chasing Light was just, the music itself drew me, and then the lyrics, but it was the music I loved more so than the lyrics. So yeah. The criticism I've been reading about the album, I'm just like, hey, whatever. You guys, if you like Metallica, if you like what Metallica continues to do, you'll like the album. If you can't get past the first 4, what they've done from the 80s, then hey, it's not going to be for you. If you're expecting Master of Puppets or Justice or Lightning or it's not going to happen. It's just, if you're expecting a part 2 of any album that's been done before, it's not happening. And you need to accept that. You either are going to rock with the album, like a lot of us are, or you're not. That's just really what it comes down to. So, yeah. So with that being said, let's cue the music. Hanging by a thread as I